moves being made by both federal and the state here to just make cannabis access for everybody in this country and in our state just absolutely unmanageable. Taking rights away here in the state specifically from something that people actually voted on and we put it into place. For them to be able to step in on that and like literally change anything they want is kind of alarming. Should be alarming to people because like, what else could they potentially down the line not have an issue with and want to change? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Over the will of the people who actually voted on certain things like this. It's going to be a huge loss for a lot of people over the next year. We're going to see, a lot of businesses close. We're going to see.
What kind of businesses?
I mean, like anything, honestly, that sells these products.
What products?
Full spectrum products above 0.4 milligrams per package. I don't know what their thinking is or rationale is behind how they came up with that number, but any grower of the plant understands that you can't even grow a plant at that level with those levels that they're going to, put forward. So people are worried about the full spectrum products, them losing access to that. It's going to be a lot more because we're going to have to like truly see what products, if they're talking about 0.4 milligrams in total per package, even for flour, like CBD flour might be, taken out of the equation because of that, which then in turn eliminates the ability to use that flour to turn it into full spectrum extract. So, we could see some devastating results. We could see everything start shifting towards isolated products. And again, it's scary because the way, Trump's now coming out and talking about it federally, talking about the rescheduling to Schedule 3. These are the steps that are taken usually by big corporations, big pharma specifically, to come in and actually work their way into this market that, again, the people have been the ones to like make all the headway with across this country and get it, the stigma to be at a place where it can actually be accepted now on a lot of levels. Like you're talking about big pharma now having a pathway through and being able to get rid of anything they don't want or take over the entire market, themselves. So it's going to be devastating to not just the people who rely on the products, but these businesses being smoke shops, but not even just that, convenience stores, artisan shops, CBD dispensaries specifically. Even if there are legal dispensaries out there that want to work with, full spectrum products and get those into their dispensaries legally, like that's going to be extremely difficult for them to do, seeing how the extract to begin with is going to be, next to impossible to find. So we're going to start seeing a shift again in all isolated products, but then being mismarketed as full spectrum, even though it's an isolate CBD product with an isolate THC product. They call it full spectrum. It's not true full spectrum.
No.
Like that's a concoction. That's a Frankenstein mixture that people have come up with to like be able to categorize it in that terminology. But true full spectrum and access to full plant medicine from the cannabis plant is about to be, it's on its unfortunate way out the door for everybody.
So how does it affect the black market?
The black market specifically, it doesn't affect them at all. It's going to give them the biggest ability to thrive throughout this all, which makes it hard to like not question our government, especially, DeWine himself, who has stated this whole, issue to begin with and raised all these concerns about public safety, especially for the children. Like you're pushing this back into the black market where that has been the number one place where children have had the most access with it. So black market operators specifically, they're definitely going to see an uptake in their business, which is not hard to see when you start, eliminating access from these legal operating sectors. So
It
it's
contradicts their whole war on drugs.
or is it a play into it to feed more money into it and for them to constantly be able to benefit from it financially?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. The narrative is different from the reality.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, it's always different.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people are starting to be more awakened by certain things that are alarming, which is great. I love it. But there still is a mass amount of people that aren't like mentally seeing this yet. And, when we do, that's the only time we're really going to start seeing the devastating impact it has. But it's going to be unfortunate. People are going to have a lot of questions continuously, and we'll always be here to try to educate and shed light on the issues at hand and keep people informed. But ultimately, it's just another thing we face working with this plant, that has always been just demonized and seen as something that isn't and shouldn't be accessible to people here, even though if it is what we want, and we're going to have to unite. We're going to have to constantly keep our voices out there and not stay silent until these people in these roles in politics understand that this is a plant for the people and will always be for the people. Like, it's never going to be something that we will allow you to fully control, but it needs to be consistent and people need to be unified in that in order for us to really make a solid impact.
And how can people get your stuff?
Right now, everybody can find our products either at our Green Grove location in Berea or on our website at reverbwellness.com. These products are still fully accessible for the next 90 days. The full spectrum products, for instance, all of our CBD products that we have formulated more so on like the medicinal side are THC, mainly THC free or very low in THC. So, a lot of those products shouldn't be affected, but some of our full spectrum gummies, obviously some of our flower even that we grow at our farm could be really at risk here.
And is that just for online or just in person?
That'll be everywhere in the state of Ohio. That'll be online. That'll be in person, like I mentioned, at these different stores that sell our products. It's going to be a mass cleansing on their part of getting this off the street.
Wow.
It's very unfortunate considering people such as myself have operated lawfully in the eyes of the Ohio government and in the federal government, being regulated, being licensed as a cultivator and a processor. We have always been one to go out and be innovative, but we've never been one to use synthetics. We rely on and trust the full spectrum aspect of each variety that we grow. And, because that's what we see at the end of the day. That's what people on the medical side are studying and they're seeing every single day. Like the full spectrum, synergy between everything the cannabis plant has to offer is truthfully what has the most benefit for us, like from a pharmaceutical standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint. And, that's always what we've been about. And unfortunately, we're about to lose access to that, and it's going to be devastating. And ultimately, the main group of people it is really going to be devastating for are the people that really rely on these products. I mean, we've had numerous testimonials of people actually using these products to better themselves in some way or another. And, for that to just be taken away by people who don't use these products, who don't understand this plant, is it's just mind-boggling to me. For that to be the reality and for us to have no ability to have a say or figure out a common ground. And it's going to be heartbreaking.
Wow. What are you drinking?
What are you drinking? the finer days, the lavender lemonade, one of our best selling flavors, super low in sugar, non-carbonated. It's like just like a really nice juice. But again, full spectrum plant extracts in here, infused with our nano-soluble mixture. These are something that will be, safeguarded a little bit. Again, the full spectrum inputs that we put into it are going to be, what's at question and what we're going to have to figure out how to, work around. But drinks themselves have kind of been taken out of this framework. Obviously, big alcohol has had a say in it at this point, and they're now getting heavily invested, on multiple fronts. So something that shouldn't change both federally and through the state of Ohio is the access to some of these beverages, but they all have to be under 5 milligrams. It's going to be for people who need a higher milligram, who need a higher dose of cannabis to really feel the benefits from it, whether that's the way their body digests it or they just have a high tolerance. It's going to become costly for some people, you know what I mean? And it's unfortunate when like everything we work towards is like accessibility, affordability, consistency. Like now you're having all these things thrown in that are causing wrinkles in this seamless operation to get the people a plant that they deserve and that they have spoken about that they want. So, again, mind-boggling.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Pretty good for today. Anything